Hello, everyone. My name is Dee Riete, and I'm so grateful to be here tonight, be able to tell my story of survival. I'm an aortic dissection survivor. Um, my event happened in 2017, April 17, and I entered my 8th year of survival. About 6 months before this event, I found out I had in aneurysm, ascending aorta aneurysm, and defective aortic valve. Soon after that, I found out I was born with a heart defect, a defective valve. Is when the aortic valve is 2 openings instead of 3 openings. And I'm sorry, all these details is sometimes it's kind of hard to say all of in order. But anyways, so 6 months before my aortic dissection, I was working and I fainted. I passed out. That led me to go to my primary care because I was a very active person, always exercising, never had any problems. So upon all this consultation, I found out I had a heart murmur. So that led me to a cardiologist, and then echocardiogram, a CT scan, and then I found out I had 4.5 centimeters aneurysm on the ascending aorta. So that was caused by the defective aortic valve. So I don't have any family member with this problem. So I was thinking like sometimes could be genetic, but until 2016, I never heard anyone from my family suffering for this or having this kind of issue. Anyways, doctor told me I was safe. Of course, I had to be controlling, monitoring my blood pressure, and kind of taking it easy, I guess. Anyways, I was told if the aneurysm kept growing, 5.5, I might have to go to do a surgery to replace the aorta and the valve. So 6 months later, I decided to. I'm not from here. I'm from Brazil. I moved to the United States 20 years ago, and because I didn't have family, I don't have family here. I made a decision with my mother that I was going back to Brazil and try to get a second opinion and see maybe to have a surgery, a repair surgery in Brazil. So in April 2017, she came to the United States to help me pack my house and get everything ready for us to go to Brazil. But between her stay here, we decided to take a trip to Mount Shasta, California. It's a place very dear to our hearts. In 2012, we already visited that place, and then she wanted to go one more time. Anyways, we decided to take a week of vacation before flying back to Brazil. Anyways, we went April 12th to Brazil, April 12, 2017. And we spent a week in Mount Shasta. So on the 17th, April 17, I had another session while I was hiking Mount Shasta. Not hike, I was like on a base mountain. I remember we were visiting the Bunny Flat. That's about 6,000, almost 7,000 feet. And April was snowy. Everything was covered by snow. After we did that trip, we drove. There is a lake called Castle Lake. Is also nearby. if I don't make a mistake, it's about 5,000 feet high. I remember the lake was frozen that time. We were on top of the lake. We can see the top of the mountain from there. It's so beautiful. I had my aortic dissection on top of the lake. When I recall this story, it's crazy, but happened right there in the middle of nowhere. And as I remember, as I felt breathing deeply, I just felt on the ice. And I had my mother-in-law, two Brazilian friends with us. And I remember someone holding me. And I never passed out. I remember every step of the way of the dissection and the hipping pain, this pain going all the way. I had type A and B from the veins up here all the way to the celiac veins, the entire aorta dissected. And Mount Shasta City is a very small city. Took a while for the rescue. The ambulance paramedics could rescue me. So once I was in the hospital, the doctor could right away ask for a CT scan and diagnosed correctly. And what I remember was like you're dying, you're having an aortic dissection. I'm looking at the moment. I'm looking for which hospital can take you, and the nearest hospital would be 4 hours driving, or medevac helicopter. So also he asked to do my final calls on that day because he really told me he would not believe I could get alive to the next hospital is due to the extent of the aortic dissection. Anyways, and 8 years later, I keep thinking, it's like I remember everything. I was awake the whole time, and it's surreal, you know. I even didn't think it was that bad. Anyways, one thing I remember, the doctor also tried the state of Oregon. The first hospital would say that said they could take me in. So Sacramento in California, UC Davis was the one that could send a medevac. So I was taking there. Once again, I think I don't remember the flight, flying in a helicopter, but when I get there, I was awake again. Remember being taken to the surgery room, and everything was new for me. I never knew the doctor. I never knew nobody. And the only thing I knew, I knew about the aortic valve and the options of piggy valve, mechanic valve. And I remember discussing with the doctor, I don't know, I want to open heart surgery. Can you do video surgery? So I was out of, and also I said, I don't want a mechanic valve. And the doctor says, we're going to do everything that we can to save your life. And from there, anesthesia, I passed it out. So surgery lasted long time, 8 hours if I don't make a mistake. At that point, my mother was in a hospital too, and she does not speak English very well. I always had to help her, not an interpreter physically, but she had a phone interpreter. So, and she always kept praying, and everything was unknown for her as well. From that, I think was almost 3 days until I was awake. And was a pretty nice experience awakening from that, not knowing what's going to happen after, what's, because before that, when we read about and what's the survival rate, who can survive, if you can survive an event like that, not just surviving, but then the afterwards, you can have kidney failure, brain damage, I guess, a lot of complications, right? So when we wake up from a surgery after like that, is kind of conflicting, and I remember I was already walking, I think half a day after I was awake, kind of exercising a little bit and being more active and feeling very happy and grateful for being here, still be here. Was just this feeling, I didn't know what was to come, all the recovery, all the steps. And from that event, so I live in Atlanta, Georgia. That happened in California. So that was also one step to take in. There is a nonprofit organization called, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing correct, called Kiwanis, Kiwanis House. It's like a McDonald's house. They help people out of town with lodging. They have rooms with shared kitchen, shared dining rooms, and they help with food. They have a closet. They are amazing. Like my mother was by herself, and I think she spent 2 nights in hotels, but it's very expensive. Then the hospital referred us to the Kwani's house. She could stay there while I was recovering. So I stayed 10 days in a hospital. Once I was released from the hospital, I stayed three extra weeks in California. So I stayed also in Kwani's house, going almost daily to the hospital. I end up receiving a mechanic valve against my will, and but I'm very grateful because I'm alive. Because, anyways, I had to take Coumadin, is a medication for blood thinner, right, and do my ENR. So during the 3 weeks I was at Kwani's house, I had to check in with the cardiothoracic surgeon, do all that until I was be able to fly back to Atlanta. So it was a big journey. And just to make the story short, my travel to Brazil never happened because of that. And I always keep thinking, well, if I did go to Brazil, maybe I could have a dissection on an airplane, and that would be too late. Anyways, but that is many possibilities. After this, back in Atlanta, I had to follow up with a cardiologist, a cardiothoracic surgeon, all that, cardiovascular. And I wasn't doing well. I had really problems with circulations on the descending aorta, because when the dissection happened, I also created an aneurysm on the descending aorta that now is 4.5 centimeters long. Never changed it, so it's still being 4.5 after 7 years, 7 years and a half. Now is managed by medication. And there is many people maybe watching right now. When a dissection happens as well, layers of the aorta rupture. In the aorta splits, creates true lumen and false lumen. Circulation has, sometimes the circulation diverges, I think is the word. We can get less blood flow going down to other organs to the aorta. So this was happening to me, and I would be walking and then lose completely my movements, my legs. I remember being back home, feeling okay, and telling my mother, I'm gonna go for a walk. And then I would be in front of the house, walking 10 steps, and then I would fall on a sidewalk. You know, was that complicated. Energy, it took me a long time to get the energy back. But circulation and all that problems was a big, big issue. When I started here with Emory, I had Dr. Edward Chen. So he is my cardiothoracic surgeon right now. And I had to do a redo 7 months later. So December of the same year, 2017, I went through another open heart surgery. And at this time, the mechanic valve was a mismatch. As I understood, was a smaller. So again, so I replaced the entire arch, ascending aorta, and I have a pig valve right now. At this time, I'm 8 years from the first surgery and 7.5 years from the second surgery. And thank God, no more surgery. I don't want no more surgeries. The descending aorta is managed by medication, like I mentioned before. And besides all the ups and downs, I'm doing okay, stable. So it's very important to have a doctor that we can trust, that we can, I had the option to do. Before I was following up with Dr. Edward Chen, I had another, I had a cardiovascular doctor, which on his point of view, I needed a third surgery to replace the descending aorta. And I decided to follow up with Dr. Chen, which suggested us to do just medication. And here I am, 8 years later. We have to almost do a leap of faith and follow one direction, I think, and I definitely gave up on searching on Google, trying to find out where this disease leads, and having a chronic disease for the rest of my life, for example, was very conflicting to me to understand. Like, okay, it's not a cure for what happened, unless I can replace the entire aorta, and even though, we don't know. Chances of survival, all those things. Everything's new, and I truly believe in second chances, and this was my chance to maybe look within, do things differently. I never blamed myself for what happened, because I born with a defective valve. I had a congenital heart defect, and for some reason, never had any problems. I'm 49 years old right now, and when I was 41, so I found out about this. Maybe if I was young and could have replaced the valve, an aortic dissection would never take place. We never will find out the why, isn't it? Anyways, I think this is basically the most important points about. During this 8 years, I had a lot of ups and downs. Like I had a TIA. For those who don't know, is a mini stroke. End of 2018, I guess, but nothing is serious, but nothing serious after that. Nothing more. Besides managing pain, I have my good days, my bad days. It's still hard to explain for close family knows about it, but majority of my circle of friends, sometimes they don't understand. It is so complicated to explain, aortic dissection, true lumen, false lumen, and this and that. And I'm very grateful for Aortic Hope for give a chance for us to speak, to come up front. I on the almost 8 years, I never joined in any group. I was always by myself. 2 years ago, I was reunited to a friend. She's Brazilian too. She also had an aortic dissection, but she had a very short one, and also replaced the valve, her aortic valve. We lost touch for many, many years, and we just connected 2 years ago. In the amazing story, also her surgeon, cardiothoracic surgeon, the same Dr. Edward Chen. It's amazing. Like but we kind of found support in each other. But then I never wanted to join. I was looking to do meditation or doing other holistic approach. I never stopped taking my medications. I believe both work together. Both, no? We cannot stop what the doctor says to do, and we need to follow. But also, I try to do more, things which make me happy. Before I used to rush a lot. I'm a single mother, and when I moved to the United States, my son was 5 years old. So I was working, always doing things, being the mom and the dad. So I always, this event changed my life for the better because I learned how to I had to slow down. I didn't have an option. And everything works for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and we learn to adapt. I'm not gonna lie. First year after the last surgery, probably 2019, I spent questioning why this happened to me, why this, this and that, and but the most difficult part was to understand. So is to live with a chronic disease for the rest of my life. So having to do a CT scan and echocardiogram to see if nothing changed. Understand that I had weight restrictions. I cannot lift heavy things. I never did a marathon again. I never was a runner before, but I like it to hike, do things, and I do less today. I do 30 minutes walk. This is my max. But I think goes back to acceptance. I think that old self goes and this new self comes in, and we just need to learn to adjust. Still, after 8 years, 2 weeks ago, I spent 4 days in a hospital. I was feeling back pain, the blood pressure was high, and I always tell my cardiologist and my cardiothoracic, I hate hospital. I don't hate hospital, but I don't like to have to go to ER because they're gonna do 300 tests to make sure I'm not having another dissection, which is good. But I know how dissection is painful. If I was having one, I would know. But I try the best as I can to manage my pain, manage my symptoms. And if you really, if the pain is really high and the blood pressure is really high too, then I go seek for help. But I always try to understand my body. My cardiologist always, I had a consultation on beginning of June for my ear checkup. And then he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing. You're doing great. But after this hospital visit, the ER visit, he kind of switched it again. I want to see you in 6 months. And I always has this question on the back of your mind. Well, am I doing well now? Instead of seeing a cardiologist in a year, I'm going to see in 6 months. But anyways, it's just accept things the way they are, we cannot change. We just can help the symptoms. And with my cardiothoracic surgeon right now, Dr. Edward Chen, when I had the surgery and I was following up with him, he was with Emory in Georgia. 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, he now is the head of cardiothoracic department in Duke University Hospital. I've decided to follow him there. So by that time, I was following up with him once a year. Now every 2 years. And this is a small wins because, if I remember at the beginning, every 6 months, actually every 3 months. Then every 6 months I had to see him. Then a year, now 2 years. So next July I'm gonna be traveling again, and let's see if I'm gonna stay in 2 years or 3 years now. But pretty much other thing I would like to talk to, going back to work was very difficult. Not just going back to work, but having a normal life again, as trying to keep up just with, not even with the 24 hours, because by the time we wake up and do things, I always need extra naps during the day, and that would make me feel very guilty. But the body needs rest. And today I understand my body. If I need to rest, I will rest. I will not force. But there are some days which I feel completely fine without pain, and then I tend to overdo. To do everything I did not do yesterday, I want to do today. So I'm still trying to find balance on this new life. And yeah, that's what happened with me. And thank you for watching. And Josh probably will remind me some points I might forget to say, but actually a lot.
You didn't forget much, I promise. So right away, we're going to start with saying hi to Molly, Bruce, and Velda. And Velda asks, do you still have problems walking?
Hi. Not as much. No, improved a lot. This last 4 years. Actually, the second surgery in 2018, in December, when I replaced the entire
Ascending arch replacement.
Yes, I started feeling better afterwards. It's almost a year to adjust everything. I still feel some numbness sometimes, and I deal with, if I sit too long, I have on the left side, but it's normal. It's related to the dissection. And I had for many years stomach pain, which this is normal for, digestion problems too. When I was eating too much greens as well would also affect, but overall, no, I feel good.
So one thing that that does get asked in the community quite often is, if you've had a dissection, can you get a second dissection? And we just had a doctor answer that question with a live Q&A.
Okay.
And he was like, no, that can happen. Some people have this. But you have the experience of having both an emergency surgery and a planned surgery. And so do you remember what the recovery was like in comparison? Like how much easier was the planned surgery to recover from?
I can say waking up for the second surgery was worse than the first surgery.
Oh, go on.
My heart is defibrillator, and I remember waking up with the tube and all that, I want to get be taken out and all that things, and was complicated. But the recovery after was easier than the first one.
Okay.
Because I remember on the first surgery waking up so happy. I was like another, I don't remember when they took out the first surgery, when they took the tube out. I wanted to speak and I could not speak. And then I asked my mother, give me something to write. I was writing like, I'm wonderful. I just had to, I'm wonderful. I'm just so happy. I would write those things. But I had this feeling, I'm back, I'm alive. I don't know where I was. But the second I didn't have that same, was totally different.
Okay.
And on the second surgery, of course, I did not fight with my cardiothoracic surgeon. Yes, on the first surgery, I was just saying, I don't know when a metal valve, mechanic valve, because I kind of, on that 6 months until the event, I could kind of study and learn, okay, what's the options, what's the best option to do, and this and that. With that 7 months with the mechanic valve, I could hear the ticking, the clock, and would affect my sleep. Oh. And sometimes people in the room could hear the click. It was kind of the mind wasn't to adapt to that, and think that I will need to spend the rest of my life with that. I had to find a way to get easy with it. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can I ask something? The doctor, thank you for answering the question, but I having a second dissection. But one thing I don't know, for example, the second dissection can happen because the aneurysm is there. For example, for me, when I had my dissection, I did not have the aneurysm on the descending aorta. That caused, after the dissection. And now can happen again because I have the aneurysm. So.
Well, for example, in our board of directors, we have Terry. She's the head of fundraising, and hers are upside down. She had her type B dissection, and then years later she had a type A dissection.
Wow.
And so very often we have this we're not sure about anything with this disease because the variables are so wide.
Yeah.
They're so wide. We have somebody else. She's our daytime moderator on the noon, and she's gone. I think she's in her 15th year of a type B medically managed dissection.
Wow.
And so when it's medically managed, the growth is going to be monitored, and they may have waited for 5.5, but because you already dissected and your vessel's already compromised, my guess is that they're gonna signal a 5 at 5. They're gonna want to do an intervention.
Wow.
And again, these are moving averages even still today. It's like you said, don't really trust a lot of the stuff that you see on Google.
Yeah.
The science is moving very fast. A lot of the stuff that you're going to find online, it is about people that are in their mid to late 60s, because this kind of thing can happen just through just through regular usage of life.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
sorry, and I noticed also this is so complex, and for example, for me, where I have the false lumen, the true lumen, where it's located, for example, is a very complicated area. It's right before the stomach. And even the doctors, when they try to explain to me, they prefer me hold on to my pain until when I cannot go through anymore. And then maybe we see if you were not managed by medication and maybe a surgery. Because this is my understanding. Maybe we have doctors here, they can clarify, but I stint over there would be also a risk, doing other things, or so it's very complicated, and each case is one case. So I understand, took me years to understand that don't go to Google to look for answers, because it's going to be always not positive, not helpful.
Also the description may not match, right? So you were 40 when this happened?
Yeah, 40.
Right.
I'm 49. I turned 49 in April. I always say April is my birth month, but also my rebirth month is all together.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the bicuspid valve, right? That's another one. People they don't learn about this until something like this takes place.
Yeah.
This is to me, this is weird. It's just weird that we don't know about this. Murmurs aren't detected.
Yeah.
Like these kind of things, they move right through. Did you have any changes in medication between the second and first surgeries?
Yes, for the Coumadin, I started with Plavix and didn't need to do blood work and all the, what Coumadin has. And was good, but at the same point, I had a lot of bleeding when I cycle. My female cycle was very conflicting in a point, but I really was easier to take Plavix. Besides that, the other medications is still the same to take.
And so 8 years out, second surgery, the same
7.5. Yeah.
Yeah, the same cocktail from the second surgery is what you're using today.
Plavix was the change. No, during that 7 months I don't remember exactly, aspirin for sure, Coumadin. I had blood thinner. I think I had the same. Yeah, nothing changed, because I have hydrochlorothiazide. Is a pill together with the diuretic.
Okay.
It's all combined in one pill. Beta blocker and aspirin.
Okay. You say here that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You say that it was tough getting back to work. How long did you wait until you went back to work?
To beginning of 2020.
Okay, so
the pandemic and all that. But I'm a medical interpreter and also do immigration interpreter appointments. But I was doing very slow. I have also I had my wellness business much more active before, and I tried to go back, but I would feel very tired after the session. For those maybe people are familiar with Reiki and all this stuff, I would do, but I would feel very tired afterwards. To stay in an hour talking, an hour doing things, I needed rest. I decided to do less and less, but I still do, but just take time for me to to recharge. But
okay. And you said your son was how old when you first dissected?
um, so he was 16, turning 17
16 turning
in October.
17.
Yeah, yes, he was 16. He wasn't with me on that event at Mount Shasta. He stayed in Atlanta. He didn't want to go to this trip. California, Mount Shasta is a very dear place for us. In 2012, we went there, and he was 12 as well, not 12, but he went with me on that trip. My mother again. This is why we decided to go back. Yeah, but
Okay.
he stayed here. He was with friends, and this was also when I mentioned I had to do my final calls. I had to call him, and tell him, am I not gonna be coming back home? Was very challenging time for us.
Not an easy call.
And no, no, no. And in the same time, it's kind of, this is really happening, and
Yeah.
yeah, especially because I was awake. I remember in that hospital in Mount Shasta, if I was trying to do a breathe, would feel so much pain. I was kind of half 20% of breathing. Even each
Oh,
movement
wow.
was very painful. But I was conscious, and how am I gonna die? I'm so this was my thought. This I think is different for each person who passes through. Yeah.
You do mention that 30 minutes walking is your max. Is that still a thing?
Yes.
30 minutes? What does
Yes.
that look like for
30.
you?
If I do on a slow pace, is okay. If I try to do a faster, I feel winded. I depends on the day. If the day I'm doing well, the weather is not, I'm going in a nice evening or which is not too hot, I can do more than that. But I try to do at least 3 times a week. And yeah, this year was the first year which I'm doing less. I have been feeling very tired lately. Not lately, months ago I had cold, I guess, not cold, flu, and was very hard to recover from that. And sometimes I think, well, my immune system sometimes does not, but this is normal. Sometimes I don't want to think this has to do with what we went through with the recession, because my body is, this way. And I just found strange, took me more than 2 months to get back on my feet. And then I wasn't feeling exercising. So I just gave time to my body, and we'll see if I can catch up on the summer and do some more exercise.
Right. And so, okay, so you said not too long ago you spent days in the hospital.
Yeah.
How long was it after you recovered from this flu-like thing before that happened?
So we are June 7. I was in the hospital 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
Beginning, yeah, 3 weeks ago.
Wow,
My
that's
last
so
day.
recent.
Yeah. My blood pressure was really high, 220 for 130, 120, 122, if I don't make a mistake. By the time I got to the hospital, was less, almost 170. But anyways, mild pain on the upper back, but nothing that I would think, okay, this is another dissection. I don't think. But when the doctors see, I'm with Emory, I have all, everything down there. When they see everything I went through, they want to investigate. They want to do everything and all that, which I don't blame. I wanted to go home. I didn't want to stay, but I ended up staying. And at the end, also, my cardiovascular doctor, he's not my cardiovascular anymore. This is something I was going to mention. I'm off of Plavix. It's been 2 years. believe me or not, this is wonderful. But because of the heavy bleeding, Dr. Chen, the cardiothoracic, said, let's try, let's stop with I should take the aspirin, but no more Plavix either too. But Dr. Zarge was my cardiovascular at AMOE, so he ended up looking all my tests on this visit to the ER and doing this and making sure everything was fine. And he said to me, make sure you're gonna follow up with Dr. Edward Chen. You do your
That's
thing.
helpful.
Okay, yes. Yes. But
Velda,
everything was
Velda. Oh, I'm
fine.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but at the end, everything was fine. It's just, yeah.
Okay. Velda asks, do you get therapy for the stress?
No.
It's the meditation.
Oh yeah, no, I mean my own, not with groups. Yes, I also wasn't a big meditator before. I I always practice Reiki. For those who Reiki is you can work with your own energy, balance your points, energy points, your chakras, and I always worked with that for me. Harmonizing those. Try to do some breath work, but I could not deeply breathe without pain since the surgeries. I think a lot of scar tissues, but what I do is my own meditation, now, and I write sometimes. I like to do not diaries, but just, yes, and I
General
think
journaling.
yes, but nothing big, I just walking also in nature helps me a lot, just change pace um, and the one thing I noticed with this, it's wrong maybe it's wrong what I'm gonna say. I never uh, believed I would have depression. No, I I always thought that was a stage of mine. I don't know how to explain that. I think no, I'm not having depression, but when I go back and think about that year where I was blaming the source, God, whatever, why those things happen, why with me, I I kind of I can admit I had the depression. I had the point where now life ended for me, and how do I go from here? How do I start if I cannot be the same person I was before? Because this was a big challenge for me. I'm sure a lot of survivors is learn how to navigate life after, and understands there is ways, but also we need to accept that we need to give a chance, and believe me or not, like I never joined Aortic Hope before, and like when we met, Josh, I never had any support groups. I didn't meet in person. No other survivor like my friend 2 years ago, and it's amazing how people come forward and tell their stories, and I have been watching a lot, and then helps. I always sometimes one detail matches what I had a question. I had something I needed to know, and it's interesting. Like I think Michael, I think was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if Mike or Michael. When he said when he woke up from the surgery and he was in Narnia, he was, another thing. And then I kind of, oh, I had that thing too. I was someplace else, and things we cannot talk to normal with other people, not normal people, but I think this is strange, and
Yeah, that's another one here. You said it's hard to explain to friends.
yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing about the support groups, that isolation.
Mm-hmm.
In some
Yeah.
ways, you finding that your friend went through this was a big help.
Yeah.
For many people, they don't I don't know if they can't find it or if they're not looking for support.
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it's the miscommunication in the surgery or aftercare, that they're not told that this exists, right? That there are support groups, or that they, you're not going to get that feeling of isolation. It doesn't go away when you talk to a surgeon who doesn't know what you're asking because they've never had the surgery, right? Whereas when you're talking to other survivors, like, that's gold. You're getting gold right back.
This is very important, and the work you guys do is amazing, and
we try.
And I'm looking forward to be joining one of the meetings.
Yeah.
Maybe my first. Yeah,
we can't wait to have you.
Yeah.
So sleep. This is one that I always ask about. Sleep. For most people, after they've had these, not most, I should say, for some people, getting to sleep is trouble. It's always late at night when they start letting their mind go, and that's when they get. Do you have any of that, or do you go to easy sleep?
At the beginning was hard, I mean, with that is my life with mechanic valve, which I could not sleep at all, and after, but was some disruptions. I'm also certified aromatherapist. I kind of blended some synergy oils to help me fall asleep too, in moderation. I don't like to take medication to sleep, so I use the essential oils, and that helped me wind down and sleep. But with the meditations, helped me even more. Guided meditations, and also helping with the blood pressure, because even with the medication, I would have some spikes in blood pressure sometimes, like the event 3 weeks ago, was very, very high. And
very, very high.
And one thing also I would mention about when I said I had scar tissues, I figured I was breathing, not at 1%, but I was breathing, never fully had full breath after the surgeries, and I didn't know that. I thought I had to live this way forever. Not until I started doing meditation with, they had a little introduction with breath work. At the beginning, breath work for me was too much. I felt lightheaded, so I started doing less minutes. And that's okay if I tell who meditation from who I did meditations. I have you guys maybe know about Dr. Joey Dispenza. So I was, he does a lot of guided meditations. And always some meditations have some breath work at the beginning as well. I was a year doing meditation. After a year, I did not notice this, but I went for a walk, and I felt I could breathe. I was breathing and walking and breathing and walking. I can't fully breathe, and I wasn't feeling pain. I don't know, what happened during this 1 year of really exercising, and harmonizing, I guess. And I noticed one day I was walking, and oh my God, I can breathe, and now I can breathe without pain. This has been a year ago. Happened. And
that was a year ago?
A year ago, yeah.
And that
changed my color, changed everything in me, because oxygen, I think,
Oh, yeah.
And it was a year ago.
And so that's 3 years after your second surgery?
No, a year ago, now to was December 2023 when this happened. It was a little bit more than a year ago.
Okay.
About when I realized that I could
full breath
breathe without, So 2023, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5 years after, no? 5.
5 years after. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting to me to find out
Mm-hmm.
how long it takes certain parts of the body to heal up.
Yeah.
In our Canadian group, we have a lady named Martha, and when I first met Martha years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
would never have been able to guess that she is as eloquent and well spoken as she is today.
Mm-hmm.
She had a very hard time with her recovery for years.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's just the power of human healing right there. Like
Yeah.
now she's a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
speaker, and she's musically talented, and she's a
Wow.
writer,
Mm-hmm.
and like all of these things that are right there. But it's, you know, you want to be able to stand and talk and work with people for an hour, and
Yeah.
that's, you know, maybe that's not something you get to go back to right away,
Yeah.
but you know that you can build up to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to see a speech pathologist because, and I remember she was doing exercises with me. I couldn't even hold a straw and trying
Oh
to do
wow.
things. And GI doctor also to see something on esophagus too. Everything led to, oh, maybe it's a scar tissue,
Mm.
Everything was fine. Nothing is in throughout meditation. I could, you know, as bodies, our bodies, mind, we can do wonders. Yeah. My doctor, the cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Edward Chen, since the beginning, he always told me he believes the aorta can heal, things can. That gave me hope. That gave me, because I already was a believer about those things, and it's okay, it can.
Yeah.
At least keep stable, keep,
Yeah.
you know,
Stable.
yeah,
Stable's very good.
yeah.
All right. So, do you have any final advice for any newly diagnosed or newly dissected patients?
Yes, don't read Google. Don't search. Don't search for answers there. Yes, about connect to groups like Aortic Hope, groups that have support groups. They have the professionals and medicals who can give good advice. I If I had done this before, I think it would save a lot of sleepless nights or worried thoughts about what's going to happen with me, how it's going to be my life, how and whys and whys, you know. Yeah.
Right. One day at a time.
And yeah. And just, that is a word called resilience,
Resilience.
resilience is my accent. Yeah, we learn to be, to start from zero, because you won't be the same person you were before this event, because it's impactful, changes you. I'm a firm believer change for the better. If you survive it, you're strong enough to go through this and keep going. It's, yeah.
That's beautiful.
That is yeah, remember, I think I mentioned to you, I would end with this, that is, forgive me, I won't remember which episode, but that is a great anatomy show. I think it's the third season. There is a scene where the patient she's an aortic dissection survivor, and she's walking with the doctor, and she mentions to him, like, this is the best thing that happened to me. I mean, it's devastated and almost ended my life, but I was sleeping, walking until that day. I'm a much more awake person. I pay attention to things. I watch my body. I choose me every day. So it's not exactly words of the script, but is, you guys understand the message? It's we always also can help others with this too.
Bruce says, "Thank you, Dee.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you guys for watching. And I don't see no one. I cannot say
And Dan said something and then he took it away. I think he was joking
oh,
around, but Dan says hi as well.
hi.
All right. Well, do you want to tell these nice people to like and subscribe?
Yes. Please like and subscribe our Take Hope on YouTube channel. Also, we have an Instagram page, our Take Hope. Follow us there, and all the support makes the channel be visible and help others too.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you for having me. It was very nice and challenging to speak because I said I'm not getting nervous.
You did great. I am
Yeah.
looking forward to capturing this in your native language. That's going to be
Oh,
wonderful.
I
Yes.
cannot wait for Portuguese.
All right. Well, thank you for everything. Hold on. Don't go away just yet. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody. We're going to let Dee go. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you
Bye, guys.
soon.
Thank you.